2 years ago, my stepmother deceitfully accused me of stealing our family car without her knowledge, which led to my father making the painful decision to expel me from our home. This drastic action occurred while I was bedridden following a severe car accident. Now, as my parents prepare to renew their wedding vows, they are attempting to reconcile and bring me back into their lives. Allow me to walk you through this entire ordeal in detail, paragraph by paragraph. Approximately 2 years ago, I found myself involved in a horrific car accident that would forever change the course of my life. A truck, driven by an individual who had been consuming alcohol, rear-ended my vehicle with devastating force. The impact was so severe that it left me completely immobilized in bed for 3 excruciating months. The injuries I sustained were so debilitating that I couldn't move a single muscle, no matter how much I tried, because every slight movement sent waves of intense pain through my body. Despite my dire condition and the immense suffering I was enduring, my father still decided to evict me from our home. At the time, I was 18 years old and had taken the car out to practice driving in preparation for my upcoming driver's license test, which was just a few days away. The accident occurred right in our neighborhood, not far from home, and I had clearly asked for permission from my stepmother. My father had previously emphasized that I needed to get approval from at least one parent before taking the car out under any circumstances. I approached my stepmother for permission since my father was at work, and she initially gave me the green light. However, she later twisted the narrative, falsely claiming that I had taken the car to impress my friends and appear cool by sneaking out without her consent. My father, without even giving me a chance to explain my side of the story, chose to believe my stepmother and decided to kick me out. This was particularly shocking because my stepmother had always been somewhat odd around me, but I never anticipated that she would fabricate such a serious lie to the point of forcing me out of our home. She had been part of my life since I was 4 years old, after my biological mother abruptly decided she didn't want to be a parent anymore and relinquished her parental rights. My father and my biological mother were never married, making it easier for her to leave, and my father was fully prepared to take on the responsibility of raising me alone. My stepmother had never made an effort to bond with me, and I was content with that arrangement. When my father began dating my stepmother at my young age, I quickly realized that she had no genuine interest in being a mother to me. She was simply my father's wife. During my childhood, my relationship with my stepmother was strained. We never got along well, and she often avoided interacting with me. As I grew older, our relationship deteriorated further, leading to frequent arguments over trivial matters. My stepmother had a tendency to escalate these minor disputes to extreme levels and would then report my supposed bad behavior to my father. Naturally, he always sided with her, which was incredibly frustrating since she was the one instigating these unnecessary conflicts. Our already fragile relationship was hanging by a thread, and I was relieved when I thought I would be leaving for college soon. However, that plan fell through, and I had to move in with my grandparents because my father no longer wanted me in the house. Financial issues were not the reason for this decision, as my father was relatively well off, owning his own paper company and providing medical insurance for our entire family. The car was also insured, so money was never the problem. Instead, it was entirely due to whatever fabricated story my stepmother had fed to him about the circumstances surrounding my accident. She concocted a ridiculous tale that I had intended to go out with friends to look cool, ignoring her own permission, which wasn't true. According to her, she had discovered my supposed plan through overhearing a conversation where I allegedly disregarded her warnings, but in reality, I had followed through on taking the car to prepare for my driver's test. This deceit unfolded shortly after my accident, adding to my already overwhelming suffering. The doctors had informed me that I would remain bedridden for several months until I could recover sufficiently to move normally again. Amidst the physical pain and emotional turmoil, my stepmother began spinning these false narratives about me, lying to my father for an entire week. This constant back and forth led to intense arguments, during which I lost my composure. I started shouting at her, hurling numerous insults, accusing her of being deceitful, and claiming that her actions were driven by jealousy because she couldn't have my father all to herself. I even went as far as to label her mentally unstable for making baseless accusations against me, especially considering my vulnerable state after the accident. This confrontation was the breaking point for my father, who decided to move me to my grandparents' house without further discussion. My grandparents, being compassionate and kind-hearted, welcomed me and even hired a full-time nurse to assist with my care. I felt utterly heartbroken that my father would choose to side with my stepmother over me, making it clear that I would never see him in the same light again. He justified his decision by claiming that I needed to be disciplined and that he couldn't continue to hurt his wife due to my supposed misbehavior. It was evident that he had chosen his wife's version of events over the truth, leading me to the painful conclusion that I would never speak to him again. This was an incredibly difficult decision, as my father had been my sole parent since my mother abandoned us. My stepmother had never been a true part of our family, and after being rejected by both my father and me, I realized that neither of them was deserving of being called family, a word that carries significant meaning and responsibility. After being evicted, my grandparents became my support system. They were the ones who took care of me, providing not only emotional support but also practical assistance by hiring a nurse to help me recover. Their kindness made me feel truly loved during a time when I felt abandoned by my own father. They even attempted to encourage my father to visit me, but he continually found excuses, sometimes claiming he was too busy or too exhausted from work. For nearly 2 months after the accident and my subsequent eviction, my father didn't visit me even once. Eventually, my grandparents confronted him about his behavior, leading to a dispute where he informed them that he had no intention of reconciling with me anytime soon. According to him, my stepmother no longer approved of me and had given him an ultimatum to choose between her or me. He chose her, believing that I needed to improve my behavior and learn to get along with others before he could maintain any kind of relationship with me. It was a heartbreaking realization that he had sided with her entirely, leading to the end of our relationship. My grandparents, however, continued to support me, ensuring I had everything I needed to recover and pursue my education. 2 years have passed since those events, and I'm now nearing graduation in a year's time. Moving forward has been challenging, but with the help of my friends and grandparents, it has become somewhat manageable. Despite the passage of time, I hadn't heard anything from my parents in recent years and had no desire to seek revenge or disrupt their lives further. I believed I was managing fine on my own, but then, last week, my stepmother reached out unexpectedly. She informed me that she and my father were renewing their wedding vows in a few weeks and insisted that I attend the ceremony. This sudden request left me bewildered, as I couldn't understand why she wanted me there. I promptly responded, declining the invitation, but she insisted that I must attend. She explained that my father would formally contact me about it in the coming days, mentioning that some of his business associates would also be present. These associates were aware that he had a daughter, having seen family photos on his desk, and it would be awkward for him to explain my absence from the event. Additionally, my father had been trying to reach out to mend our relationship. My stepmother pressured me to accept the invitation and leave the past behind, but I wasn't ready to do so. 2 years of hurt and resentment were not easily forgotten, and I couldn't overlook how my father had treated me. Ignoring her message initially, I tried to continue with my day, but a few hours later, she sent another message. This time, she labeled me as an ungrateful brat who couldn't control my behavior, suggesting that I was intentionally trying to ruin things even as my father attempted to reconcile. She went as far as threatening me, stating that if I didn't attend the event, I would forfeit any hope of inheriting my father's business or money in the future. Her blatant attempts to intimidate me with these threats infuriated me, as I saw through her manipulative tactics. Frustrated beyond measure, I decided to block her messages, as she had pushed me to my limit. Previously, I had blocked them on social media, but hadn't blocked their phone numbers, thinking it wasn't necessary. However, after her latest threats, I blocked their phone numbers too, hoping that would end the harassment. But she wasn't done yet. She followed up with an email, reiterating that I absolutely had to attend the vow renewal, emphasizing that it wasn't just a personal event but also tied to my father's professional life. She continued to use threatening language, trying to coerce me into compliance. Determined to put an end to her manipulative behavior, I decided to confront the situation head-on. I wrote a public post detailing our entire history, attaching evidence of our conversations, and exposing all the past events that had led to our estrangement. I tagged both my father and stepmother in the post, along with some of his colleagues from work whose social media profiles I recognized. This was a calculated move, as I wanted his business associates to understand the truth about what had happened between us. My stepmother had made it clear that the vow renewal was more of a business networking event for them, but in reality, his business associates were not even invited. It was meant to be an intimate family affair, so her claims were entirely fabricated to create a rift between my father and me. I didn't anticipate any significant repercussions from the post, but just a day later, my grandparents informed me that my father was devastated. Apparently, my public outburst had caused a substantial blow to his professional reputation, jeopardizing a merger with an office supplies company that was in its early stages. The merger was likely being called off because my father's image had been tarnished by my post, making his business partners hesitant to continue negotiations. My grandparents also felt guilty about my actions, recognizing that my stepmother had been deceitful. They believed that my public call-out had unintended consequences that affected not just our personal lives but also my father's professional endeavors. Update 1. Hello everyone. It's been a few days since my original post, and I've decided to take down the post where I publicly criticized my parents. Many of you have been asking why I referred to my dad and stepmom as my parents, despite the strained relationship I have with both of them. Well, my dad is my biological father, and even though I don't have a close relationship with my stepmother, I've known her since childhood, so parents seemed like the most straightforward term. It's nothing deeper than that. As for the post itself, I removed it and unblocked my father in hopes of reaching out to him. Most commenters felt I didn't owe anyone an apology, but I wanted to at least express that I never intended for things to escalate the way they did. I wasn't aware of how significant the merger was for his business, and I didn't mean for my actions to cause such turmoil. I didn't exactly apologize. Instead, I explained that the events from 2 years ago still haunt me, and learning that he was trying to invite me to an event felt insincere, as if he was just trying to maintain a facade in front of his business associates. I expressed that my stepmother's behavior had been deeply hurtful, which was the real reason behind my post. To my surprise, my father responded by saying that I deserved the backlash after everything that had happened. He didn't blame me for my reaction, which was unexpected. Thinking he might have been acting strangely, I spoke to my grandparents, hoping they could shed some light on his behavior. They revealed that my father had been grappling with regret over his decision to kick me out for a long time. The situation with my stepmother had made him question his judgment, and seeing my post made him realize the extent of the manipulation I had endured. They also clarified that the vow renewal was genuinely a personal event and not tied to his business, contrary to what my stepmother had told me. This revelation helped me understand that my father was truly remorseful and wanted to make amends, even though it was too late to salvage his professional relationships impacted by my public post. My grandparents expressed pride in my decision to reach out, recognizing that it was a step toward healing despite the misunderstandings caused by my stepmother's deceit. They encouraged me to pursue closure with my father, emphasizing that maintaining unresolved issues was only prolonging the pain for both of us. However, I'm still grappling with mixed emotions about our relationship. The past 2 years of estrangement had been difficult, but reconnecting now brings a mixture of hope and uncertainty. I'm trying to navigate these complex feelings with the support of my grandparents and friends, but it's a challenging journey. Update 2. Hey everyone. Many of you advised me to maintain no contact with my father and avoid reaching out, but I don't believe that's the best path for me. I've already broken the no contact rule by responding to his attempt at reconciliation, and there are still so many unresolved issues and unanswered questions that I need to address. Ignoring them completely isn't feasible for me right now. Instead, I feel that having at least one honest conversation could provide the closure I need. I discussed my feelings with my grandparents, and they agreed that sitting down together for a family discussion would be beneficial. They are currently in talks with my father to arrange a meeting. From what I understand, things between my father and stepmother are deteriorating further, possibly heading towards a divorce. It's ironic considering they were just planning to renew their vows, but circumstances have changed dramatically. This potential separation adds another layer of complexity to our already strained relationships. My grandparents have been proactive in trying to mend the relationship between my father and me. They understand the limited time we have together and the importance of resolving our differences. It seems that my father is genuinely apologetic for his past actions. According to my grandparents, he has been deeply remorseful and distressed over how things turned out, especially after realizing the extent of my stepmother's manipulation. He recognized that he had made a colossal mistake by siding with her and regrets the pain it caused me. This newfound understanding has motivated him to seek reconciliation, even though it may not fix everything overnight. As for my side, I realize that I haven't fully considered my father's perspective. My grandparents explained that my father has been struggling with guilt and confusion, unsure of how to rectify the situation. Hearing this makes me ponder the complexity of our relationship and the challenges of rebuilding trust after such profound hurt. While I'm still unsure about the future of our relationship, I appreciate the efforts my grandparents are making to bring us back together. Their support and wisdom are invaluable as I navigate these emotional waters. Update 3. Hello everyone. 2 days ago, I finally met my father after 2 long years of no contact. We met at my grandparents' house, and the reunion was incredibly emotional. I still can't believe that I was able to sit down and talk to him about everything that had been bothering me and get answers to the questions that had weighed on my mind for so long. My father began by offering a heartfelt apology for everything he had put me through. He admitted that he knew he had failed as a father and felt unworthy of sitting in the same room with me, acknowledging that I had become a better person than he had ever imagined. He insisted that he didn't deserve my presence, claiming that he had no role in the positive aspects of my life. However, I couldn't entirely agree with his assessment because he had raised me single-handedly after my biological mother left. Before things soured with my stepmother, he had always been a supportive and caring parent. He admitted that he had made numerous mistakes, the most significant being his misplaced trust in my stepmother. He explained that he had assumed she was telling the truth because she was older and seemed trustworthy. My stepmother was adept at manipulating him, presenting her narrative in a convincing manner that made him doubt his own judgment. This manipulation left him confused about who to believe, ultimately leading him to make the wrong decision in siding with her over me. Even after he began to doubt the veracity of her claims, he struggled to find the courage to face his mistakes and reach out to me sooner. This fear and confusion prevented him from reconciling with me after he kicked me out, prolonging the pain and misunderstanding between us. During our conversation, I also learned that my father and stepmother are now headed for a divorce. After reviewing the evidence I had posted online, he confronted my stepmother about her lies regarding the car accident and my intentions. Their confrontation escalated into a significant argument, during which she admitted to fabricating the story about the car accident 2 years ago. This admission was the final straw for him, leaving no choice but to end their marriage. My stepmother had lost any credibility, and continuing the marriage was no longer tenable. Facing the truth about her deceit forced my father to take decisive action to protect both himself and our relationship. Given this new development, it was difficult for me to make an immediate decision about our relationship. I told him that I needed some time to process everything before deciding whether to give him a second chance. Currently, I'm evaluating whether to rebuild our relationship, understanding that most people might advise against it. However, since he's my father and the only parent I've ever had, I feel that it's a personal decision that only I can make. Now that I'm an adult, I no longer rely on him financially or otherwise, as I'm preparing to graduate from college and become financially independent. This independence means that any reconciliation would be based purely on emotional grounds, without ulterior motives related to financial dependence. Despite what some might say, I believe that my father's remorse is genuine. His business remains stable even without the merger, so his desire to mend our relationship isn't driven by financial necessity. It's a sincere attempt to reconnect and heal the wounds of the past. I'm leaning towards giving him a chance because, despite everything, he is my father. The past few years have been incredibly challenging, but I don't want to let that completely overshadow the good aspects of our relationship. However, I'm still uncertain and seeking guidance, which is why I'm sharing my story here, to hear your thoughts and experiences as I navigate this pivotal moment in my life. I genuinely want to make things right and have a chance at a normal family dynamic, and this opportunity feels like my only hope. Update 4. Hi everyone. After much contemplation and support from my grandparents, I've decided to take proactive steps toward rebuilding my relationship with my father. We are scheduled to begin therapy together next week, and I'm hopeful that this structured environment will help us address and heal from the deep-seated issues that have plagued our relationship for the past 2 years. In addition to therapy, we are committed to rebuilding our bond by engaging in regular, open communication. My grandparents are thrilled about this development and are fully supportive of our efforts to reconnect. Their happiness and encouragement provide me with a sense of hope and motivation as I embark on this journey toward reconciliation. Honestly, I feel genuinely ready to put all the past grievances behind me and move forward. The pain and resentment that have accumulated over the years are heavy burdens, but with the support of my grandparents, friends, and the therapeutic process, I believe there's a path to healing. Rebuilding trust and understanding will take time and effort from both sides, but I'm committed to making it work for the sake of having a real, meaningful relationship with my father. Looking ahead, I envision a future where my father and I can share our lives without the shadow of past misunderstandings and false accusations. It's a challenging road, but the first steps have been taken, and I feel cautiously optimistic about the possibilities that lie ahead. Thank you all for your support and understanding as I navigate this deeply personal and transformative experience.